This WWE decision could haunt them forever. As WWE continues to build for WrestleMania 41, WWE fans have been outraged at WWE's current storylines going into the biggest show of the year, and WWE continues to ignore them. WWE has found a lot of success under the Triple H regime change. However, fans have made their anger known on social media really when it started with Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. And then obviously he shocked the world, and they've been building this program between him and Gunther. And a lot of wrestling fans just haven't been too keen on Jey Uso potentially main eventing WrestleMania. And this is where things get a little bit more crazier within the WWE, because WWE continues to ignore the fan outrage. And it's not only that, but WWE is now being even met with more criticism because of a personnel change that they've made backstage to SmackDown. As you guys know, SmackDown is now 3 hours temporarily for the year of 2025, but this personnel change may be the one getting blamed for the quote-unquote downfall of SmackDown creative. Okay, if you guys are totally unaware, WWE has a huge creative team filled with writers from Hollywood and writers with a writing background. And actually, what's even crazier is WWE is now even hiring more writers, at least according to their LinkedIn page. But WWE made a very significant change behind the scenes, with Road Dogg now helping contribute to SmackDown. Some people even believe that Road Dogg has given the pen for SmackDown as a lead writer. However, the jury is still out on that. And you're probably wondering, okay, well, why is this a big deal, Ango? Why could this actually hurt the WWE? Now, as I've said multiple times on the channel, the IWC doesn't make up for every single person that is buying tickets to the events, and they don't obviously speak for the majority audience, but I think it is really clear that we got to at least point out the fact that there has been a lot of outrage with this build to WrestleMania 41, and obviously WWE continues to ignore them. And I just want to make it perfectly clear, as I always do on my live streams, which you can watch Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, I agree that Jey Uso should have won the Royal Rumble. I'm completely fine with his build for WrestleMania, and I actually have no problem with SmackDown the way it currently is. I think WWE and Road Dogg Jesse James have done a really good job of advancing storylines and keeping the show progressing as we continue to build to WrestleMania 41, but of course people are going to complain, and just because I like it doesn't mean you have to like it as well. And because I do have common sense, I do understand that WWE and pretty much every wrestling company cannot simply only cater to what I want, but at some point you do have to point out that these decisions that they're making, if they are met with backlash, could be a problem for the future. Ultimately, WWE and AEW and pretty much every other wrestling company should listen to all of their audiences, not just the casual audience, not just the hardcore audience, but you want to try to satisfy absolutely everybody. And I think some criticisms are absolutely valid, while some are just straight up disingenuous. Reality is simple. When WWE was under the Vince McMahon regime change, it was very clear at that point in time that WWE was constantly ignoring the IWC. And this was actually a formidable change for the company, because when Vince McMahon was replaced by Triple H, it seemed like Triple H was paying attention, at least relatively closely, to what the IWC was saying, and then also using some of that feedback to make changes, WrestleMania 40 being a perfect example. I find it really important that WWE listens to all audiences, and hopefully everybody gets exactly what they desire from the product. Of course, you gotta stay away from those disingenuous Twitter accounts telling you that everything is bad, because all they're doing is trying to get paid a few pennies, and that's usually the way it works. And I just want to remind people, even though that I'm thoroughly enjoying SmackDown and everything that WWE's been doing as of late, it doesn't mean everybody is. So at the end of the day, the best thing you could try to do is cater to everybody and try to make everybody happy, which I know sounds like very impossible, but it is possible if you do your homework. Now would be a perfect time to tell you guys how thankful I am for you subscribing to this channel, but we do have some more work to do. The goal is 100,000 subscribers, and 40% of the people that watch this channel aren't actually subscribed, which is actually really sweet. But if you guys are new here, go ahead and click that subscribe button so this way you don't miss a video moving forward. Hey, we got more wrestling news. Let's talk about a former WWE star who joined AEW, who then left AEW. Well, he's now back under the WWE umbrella, and it's under a Legends deal. Now, this signing does raise a couple alarms, because wrestling fans have noticed that this particular legend has been quite outspoken about AEW and some of their shortcomings on Busted Open Radio. And a lot of people have noticed that this particular individual also has a son who was signed by the WWE under the NIL program. So obviously people are starting to think there might be a little bit of biasness against AEW because of this individual's ties to WWE. This news was dropped by Ringside Collectibles, who revealed that Mark Henry recently signed a new WWE Legacy contract with the company, and there will be a new Mattel World's Strongest Man action figure on the way soon. At this time, we don't know if there's any more details on the length of the contract or what's actually included in the contract, but we do know that WWE will continue to utilize his intellectual properties for video games, action figures, and merchandise. But really, I want to know if Mark Henry will be making any appearances for WWE, or will we see him return to MLW or TNA as we have seen after his AEW departure. And to be quite clear, I think this was kind of expected once he left AEW. He's been very outspoken about AEW after departing the company, and honestly, I really enjoyed his work in AEW, but at the end of the day, Mark Henry built his whole career thanks to the WWE, and it just makes sense that's where his loyalty will lie. And of course, we can't forget the fact that his son is currently signed to WWE under an NIL program, so a lot of people are pointing that out when listening to his negative rants about AEW or whatever it may be, but I truly believe his analysis has always been relatively fair, and for that reason, I support it. Mark Henry going back to WWE makes a lot of sense, and I would just like to say some of the things that he did in AEW was so cool. I would definitely not mind seeing him getting involved in WWE NXT if that opportunity arrives. And no, I'm not talking about being an in-ring performer, but whether it's being a backstage coach or an on-air personality, I think that could be really cool just to sum things up over there. And that leads us to our very final topic of today's video. Guys, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select had reported something very interesting about Vince McMahon, and if you guys are outraged by Triple H and his regime, let me just remind you that Vince McMahon was super chaotic. This new report came out by Fightful Select that reported that Finn Balor was originally set to defeat Adam Copeland, aka Edge, at WrestleMania 39, and obviously what would have been a massive win for him and his demon persona, and obviously it would have been a very satisfying payoff because the Judgment Day storyline, but Vince McMahon actually came in very, very last second and decided that he wanted Adam Copeland, aka Edge, to win the match. Now, obviously, this news is coming out incredibly late, I mean, literally years later, but the reason why it's so important to actually talk about this is the fact that people are often forgetting how bad Vince McMahon actually was when it came to these last-minute changes. So when you hear of stories of fans being outraged by AEW or WWE booking, just remember it could always be worse. And I just really want to make it clear, it's 2025, regardless of my criticisms towards WWE or AEW or TNA or any of these companies, I don't think anything could be as bad as WWE in 2019. Honestly, Vince McMahon's booking was that bad to the point where it was very, very miserable to watch. I personally did not enjoy doing YouTube at that time. I did not enjoy doing watch-alongs. So I could criticize WWE and AEW all day, but I'm pretty sure I'll never be as miserable as I was at that time, which I think is a good reminder to let people know, yes, you might not be happy with AEW or WWE at times. You may not enjoy every single booking decision. You might feel quite fatigued, but at the end of the day, I don't think we have it bad at all. And I think it's very obvious when you look at the current climate of the wrestling industry, it is incredibly healthy and it is incredibly thriving. And I also think I got to remind you guys, Vince McMahon was stuck in his own world. He didn't listen to the fans at all. So whenever you see Tony Khan or Triple H actually listen to the fans, just count your blessings, because as you guys all know, Vince didn't give a shit about us, and that's just the way it was. That's the way it was always going to be, and the wrestling industry is so much better without Vince McMahon actually in it. So I just wanted to remind all of you guys for that. But anyways, I thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to click subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.